Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned. Albino ranks every DLC boss in the first Nioh game from easiest to hardest. I'm playing the remastered edition, which comes with all 3 DLC packs. I've beaten Nioh multiple times in the past, but this was my first time playing through all the DLCs as well, and I just platinumed the game after hearing my 7,000th Matatozo from the blacksmith. Tome and Muramasa can take their 20 million gold and go start their own country. I never want to see them again. All the DLCs lean heavier into bullshit than in the main game, and I do not recommend actually playing any of their missions. Just select the Tonfa as your starting weapon and consider that all the content you require. Unfortunately, I had the incredible displeasure of fighting every DLC boss in some form or another, usually multiple times, because the game's like, remember this guy? And you're like, yeah, I fought him in the last mission. So starting from easiest and working our way to hardest. Number 20, Ryunoshin. In the third DLC, there's a Grand Tournament Arena mission where they throw quite literally every enemy you've ever seen into one gauntlet, and at some point, Ryunoshin the Dung Eater comes out with a couple of poo friends like he's Christopher Robin. Remember collecting balls of shit to give to this guy in the main game? The gold ones were worth extra because they taste better. The enemies spawn at the earliest level you'll see them, so even though this mission is 90 levels above my character, Ryunoshin is 90 levels below and gets shit on quite happily, I imagine. Number 19, Otani Yoshitsugu. I didn't include every main game repeat boss for this ranking, mostly because I didn't think the 30th Onryoki you fight warranted a discussion, but this Yoshitsugu is in a room full of crystals, and while you might think you need to break them, he thinks that as well for some reason. His own attacks do more damage to them than yours do, so you can just kite him around them and then strafe the hell out of him to murder him. All his attacks are vertical, so he's way more susceptible to 3D movement. Number 18, Ishida Mitsunari. After you have him destroy the crystals in the arena, he's easier to deal with than his main game counterpart, especially considering I'm still 90 levels lower than the level of this final DLC 3 mission, but if you get grabbed, you die, as is the case with most bosses in this dumbass game that I like a lot. Number 17, Katekura Shigenaga. Shigenaga is a big fat axe who fancies himself a ninjutsu user as well, throwing paralytic cloud bombs that paralyze you if you go in there, makibishi balls that scatter slowing caltrops, or sometimes just regular-ass grenades with hitboxes that far outreach their explosions. Halfway through the fight, he decides he no longer wants to be staggerable, as so many bosses do, but in this case it's a buff you can track so you know when it runs out. I used to be a high-stance loyalist with tonfas, but the more I used them that way, the more people would either get pushed out of my combo range or just inexplicably phase through my body. So in the harder fights coming up, you'll see I predominantly use mid-stance strong attacks for damage windows. In this fight, those would be deflected by this dude's guard, but in battles where MFers don't stagger anyway, you're not going to be pressing too many consecutive attack buttons regardless. There will be more places to talk about this later. Number 16, Date Masamune. A lot of people don't realize what a difference stance changing makes depending on the situation. For this dude's default form, you can either spam mid-stance strong attack deflections on his guard to eat away his ki when it's down to like a third, or high stance light attacks with the tonfa won't be deflected because they're high stance, so you can complete your combo without getting bounced back. When he starts living weaponing and you're just trying to get 1 or 2 quick hits at the end of every combo you dodge, you'll want mid over high for the added movement flexibility so you can quickly dash back or to the side if he decides he wants to start some BS. In high stance, that dash would become a roll, which has more invincibility frames but is easier to catch on the tail end since you're covering distance more slowly. Another example is that he's got this multi-water shockwave, and you'll want a mid or low dash to quickly dodge through those to have enough time to start another dash through the next one, where a roll would get caught by the next wave for being too slow. But when it comes to dodging a charging thrust or quick single attack, the roll will be more reliable to get you through a hitbox that touches you as long as it's not active for too long. Number 15, Yokai Date Shigezane. This is the first boss of the first DLC, and if you hold the L1 button, you're as good as dead. I realize that as a light armor user, you're supposed to dodge more than you block, but it's usually helpful when learning boss patterns to start with blocking and then incorporate dodges where you think they might go as their combo continues. The initial block is a useful buffer to prepare you for the rest of what you now need to dodge, but this dude just breaks my block in one hit with almost every move, so the only way to handle the fire is to jump in with no protection and let it burn you over and over again. Date's signature fuck off attack comes into play after half health, where if you're hanging out at range to see what he does, he launches his centipede at you at a really stupid diagonal angle that will still do half your health if you block it, and will kill you outright if you dodge it correctly. It's a long projectile that travels kinda slow, so I don't trust dodging through it, which leaves weird side angles to shoot for and hope you don't just instantly die. The bright side is that he gives you his Guardian Spirit when you beat him, which gives you innate poison on any weapon as long as it doesn't already have an element attached, plus guard piercing capabilities so you do a little damage even when the target is blocking, among other things. Pro tip, level up Spirit in this game, no matter your build. You need it to be like 33 or 34 to unlock all the passive buffs from the endgame DLC Spirits, and it's even worth it just for the ones that give you bonus Amrita gain, like Mizuchi and Saoirse. Of course, you can have all the Amrita gain in the world, and you'll still be underleveled for every single DLC mission, but that's life, am I right? Number 14, Nine-Tailed Fox. The final boss of the third DLC is Cha-Cha, who turns into a Ninetales, despite her perfect link being Cinccino in Pokemon Conquest. It's like they didn't even do any research. Give me a beast boss over a bullshit superhuman living weapon junkie any day. At least the yokai play by the rules. Plus you get an NPC helper for the boss to give all her aggro to and ignore you completely sometimes. In the attempt before this, I got annihilated by a meteor attack, and I was like, damn, I wonder how I'm gonna dodge that next time. And then she never did it again, so I never found out. I took to just allowing her tailspin to break my block as the safe option half the time. Otherwise, you get the hell out of the way of her grab by sprinting sideways and rolling early so it never even makes contact with your player model. And those were most of the attacks I ever saw. Everything she did was punishable and avoidable. Number 13, On Maraki. At least it's not Onryoki. This big bird makes distinct elephant noises, and it's weird to listen to, knowing what I'm looking at. It's another yokai boss, which there aren't nearly enough different ones of, so that's neat. And you don't want to hang out at range because it does a lot of long-range swipes and charges that won't give you any punish windows if you're too far away. This boss can be cheesed a bit, but I tried not to do it too much. I noticed that I could hit its head with the Mizuchi Guardian Spirit Talisman and it would instantly knock the whole bird on its beak for a big damage window, though I guess it's not really cheese if the boss has an obvious glowing weak spot the game wants you to hit. When I rank bosses, I try to fight them without a lot of the optional tools that are designed to make combat easier. Like in Nioh's case, historically I'd refuse to use Living Weapon or the Slow Talisman or some other things that I'd say make bosses too easy, to where you're not even really engaging with the fight. But some bosses in this DLC amp up the bullshit factor so relentlessly that you will see some of those restrictions lapse. I only mention it here because this fight is long, so I have time to say it. Number 12, More Annoying Nioh. I can comfortably say we did not need this. Thank Fuku we have an NPC collaborator to distract Nioh while its uninvited guests distract us, though you will still get hit by lightning bolts that would rather target you than the hot mage directly in front of the beast's drooling eyes. It's just annoying fighting enemies that take a little bit too long to kill when there's a Nioh running around, sometimes rolling around like a hedgehog because Souls and Souls-like games have this unspoken rule where they have to have at least one random creature do a fucking spin dash for no reason. Fuku will launch everything but a damaging attack at Nioh, so she's no help offensively, and you gotta deal with one of those snakehead dudes and then later a cannon ninja yokai. Like he shoots cannonballs, he's not like established historical lore. I somehow died like 6 times to this entourage, and Nioh has a soft spot in my head from my last Nioh ranking, so I just turned on Living Weapon at the end to save myself from a self-induced concussion. I can run circles around a regular Nioh these days, by the way, since people ask. I just still hate the way it regains ki by getting on its hind legs and killing you for attacking it. Number 11, Sasaki Kojiro. This is probably the most unique normal human fight in Nioh, if a certain ninja doesn't qualify. The way this dude uses his Odachi makes it feel like an entirely different weapon. He's out here doing acrobatic shit with it. He will literally do the high jump and use his sword as the pull and your chest as the base. If he hits you with the first part of that, you're just dead, no questions asked. But if he misses, you can punish his landing. The only thing I don't like about the tonfas is how inaccurate they can be. If your target moves a little to the side while you're flailing around, your character will just stay aiming at where they've been, and it's such a far cry from the pinpoint auto-targeting every enemy in the game seems to have. That's literally probably why in Nioh 3 they gave the ninja stance that split-second decoy mechanic on the R1 dodge, so enemies wouldn't just instantly follow you with their strikes and demolish you. I'm of the mind that the Odachi sucks in Nioh 1, so I sure wish I could have this guy's moveset. Number 10, Mysterious Samurai. What's even more mysterious is how they expect me to tolerate fighting a guy who has Living Weapon 90% of the time. I don't like the kind of battle that becomes. Because I'm a fast light armor class, I can dart in and out of range to get quick punishes when his attacks end, but I don't know how heavy armor people are supposed to deal with just running away from everything until his ki runs out, and then hoping you can get a hit to break him before he just gains it all back again, refurbishing his Living Weapon. This is far from the most egregious example of this kind of boss, but it does bring up the point. When he has Living Weapon, which is always, he is unstaggerable and can interrupt any combo you try to start, so you can't do combos. It's just quick hit, run away, quick hit, run away. I don't feel like I'm in a tense battle of positioning. I feel like I'm just camping and running out the clock until he exhausts himself, and I better get a hit during the 2 seconds he's vulnerable or we start the process over, which will happen anyway. This guy is still not too bad, though. I was not prepared for how annoying things were going to get. Number 9, Sarutobi Sasuke. The first ever Tonfa boss, I believe. You'd think I was in e-girls DMs the way this dude slides in repeatedly. If you're hit by the slide, you're dead, as you might imagine, because it's an attack, so why wouldn't it insta-kill you? This is Nioh, goddammit. He's not much of a blocker, though, so anything he does can be heavily punished. Just watch out for all the ninjutsu he throws at you in the form of paralysis kunai, rope bombs, and other assorted bullshit, because ninjas are cheap bitches. Yeah, I said it, Nintendo. What are you gonna do? Number 8, Maria. What is this, Bloodborne? Maria is fine and one of the more fun bosses in the DLC, even after she employs her unstaggerable cheat code, which she, of all people, does not deserve because she's a lithe Spaniard I could pick up in real life. But her fight is like a graceful dance. Just don't get too keen on breaking her ki, because she is very good at having 2% of it left and staying just out of reach while punishing you for trying so hard. She takes good damage, though, so it won't be that drawn out. Number 7, Date Masamune BS Edition. I'm not going to be talking about every repeat DLC boss encounter, but this is a much more egregious example of a fight that is designed to be not fun, because all the boss fucking does is use living weapon all day, and as soon as his ki is drained, he switches to a different living weapon with no downtime. This arena also sucks ass to fight in, because while the bridge is helpful in blocking most of his attacks, except for the water beams that travel right over the fence at you, they present no opening for you to deal damage back. And his blade beam combos make it much more dangerous to try to hang outside his burst window for quick punishes when you get the chance. You don't really get those chances in water mode. Wind mode is okay, because he doesn't do that attack, but in water mode, his fucking ballsack spirit coats half the playing field in dot pools and gives him attacks that make him nigh untouchable combined with the environment. It's just such a piss-off to wait him out of this mode, and then as soon as his ki is about to flash red, you run in there and he just starts backstepping to get away from you 3, 4, 5 times in a row, which he can still do with no ki apparently, like a goddamn cheater, before immediately spawning a new living weapon and regaining full ki while standing in his unapproachable aura. It's just a terrible fight, straight up. Harder ones exist, but this is one of the worst designed. Number 6, Yukimura and Sasuke. I haven't talked about Yukimura's solo fight yet, because this is sort of a more condensed version of his initial boss fight. The arena is smaller, and the battle sort of gets to the point quicker with the attacks he decides to do. Yukimura is another living weapon junkie, but the differences are he actually spends more than 2 seconds at a time outside his transformed state, and his punish windows are a bit more frequent if you're quick enough. Plus, by this point, you're used to what he does, because of how much you struggled at the end of the second DLC. Did we need to bring this guy back for the third DLC? I could have done without it, but here we are. When he gets down to a quarter health, Sasuke joins to be annoying as hell, and he does not have his own health bar at the bottom, which means defeating Yukimura also defeats him. This was my second attempt, and so when Sasuke spawned in this time, I just activated living weapon and finished off Yukimura before he could do anything. At this point, I don't care. The game is unfair by design, and they give you fairer versions of the unfair stuff to try to fight back against the steady diet of cheese the game force feeds you at so many intervals. I can get hit out of my living weapon in 2 seconds flat if the boss so chooses. Hell, I can be killed out of it if the right attack lands. This is my little humble form of payback. Number 5, the Shige brothers. I know they're not brothers, but Shigezane and Shigenaga have decided to team up because Team Ninja thinks we like those encounters for some reason. Double and triple bosses are the worst experience you will have playing this game. It's not so bad if it's a boss rush mission where you just fight a few bosses back to back. I did those and don't have them in the ranking because there's nothing different about the encounters. But with gang bosses, all pretense is out the window. There is not even a modicum of decorum to hide behind and pretend that any thought or purpose went into plopping 2 different bosses on the same field at the same time. All they did was unleash the hounds and say, "Fuck you." And as a result, these fights do not deserve any of your respect as a player. No, I will not engage honestly with such an inherently dishonest task. I am laying ground fire traps and hoping they both run into them at the same time, so they go flying up into the air and I get a free grapple attack on one of them. And yes, I did bring 9 of them, and yes, only 3 of them on average will work properly anyway, because either one of the bosses will prevent me from punishing the other, or they will randomly armor through the trigger for absolutely no reason. I didn't do it in this footage, but I wholeheartedly recommend using the Sloth Talon talisman in these encounters. It's the great equalizer, the most powerful tool in our arsenal, the forbidden ultimate weapon, to where I can't even bring myself to do it in a fight like this. But looking back, I absolutely should have, cause fuck these missions. They are stupid and dumb, and not fun. Nioh 3 is gonna have bosses like these, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to cheese them. You'll want to beat Shigenaga, the axe guy, first, while doing as little damage to Date as you can, because when Shigezane takes enough damage, he starts hurling that centipede again, and you absolutely do not want to deal with that while another dude is on the board. Number 4, Toyotomi Hideyori. Just when I don't think they can cheat any harder, this babyface bitch shows up. At first it's a normal fight. Hooray! He doesn't spam living weapon, this is awesome. Then halfway through he gets fire and lightning swords, and becomes governed by yokai ki rules. He obviously no longer staggers, but at least with his ki not automatically regenerating, you can get free openings at guaranteed intervals, right? Wrong! Hideyori is now the first human with a yokai bar that can generate his own yokai pools to stand in and regain lost ki, and if you're like, that's okay, I'll just purify them when he makes them. Nope, cause he makes about a dozen of them every 5 seconds. You can't keep up. He's got the ballsack man attack, where he can spawn a bunch of pools at once all over the place, and other attacks he does spawns them too. There will be no helpful damage windows for the whole second half. Oh, did I mention that he also has a parry that he can activate when blocking your attacks that just insta-kills you, no questions asked, making every single swing of your weapon an inherent risk? Yeah, it's hella cool. I'm not pulling my hair out. I managed to beat him with no cheese, only using living weapon to land exactly one hit at the end, but I absolutely never want to fight this rat bastard again. Number 3, Sanada Yukimura. The final boss of the second DLC, this is Yukimura in his purest, introductory yet no-holds-barred form. Acclimating to this battle is one of the most frustrating things I've ever experienced. Prepare to be on fire for about a third of the match. His gun instantly scorches you, his weapon strikes instantly scorch you, even if you dodge through his screen-wide thrust, he leaves a trail of fire behind him that instantly scorches you. Eventually he'll swap to a wind state, where he gets to fly around like a UFO and drop down with a slam. I find the wind state easier to deal with because the slams do surprisingly little damage if you block, although they still apply wind and make you do less damage for a while, but you still want to dodge wind blades because it's easier. Part of succeeding against bosses like this is just accepting that it's a poke and run kind of situation, which I harbored a lot of resistance to in the beginning. Number 2, Jin Hayabusa. I get that this is intended to be a fun cameo for Ninja Gaiden fans, as Team Ninja is also responsible for the Ninja Gaiden series, but as someone who only played one of the games and had a decent time with it, designing a boss that is this abject horseshit just makes me hate the source material. I might have Ryu's armor set on right now, but fuck the Hayabusas, dude. How do they get to come in here and not even play by the rules of Nioh? His signature jump dive that auto-decapitates mobs in Ninja Gaiden looks almost identical in this game and breaks the laws of traversal in the process, along with my guard, which gets instantly shattered, and then I get killed by whatever follow-up attack he feels like doing after. Then there's his fireball, which launches from a vertical position and can travel over obstacles without exploding on contact, and he has hyper armor after launching it, which makes no sense at all. He has punishable moves, and I spent an hour trying to fight him honestly, getting him down to a 3rd HP in my best attempt from whiff punishing his laggiest moves, like his overhead jump strike or his Kusarigama attacks, but every second he is idle is a second where he might decide to do one of several moves that kill you outright with no warning. No matter how good you're doing, it can be over in an instant. Honestly, the constant threat of the jump dive attack is doing most of the heavy lifting here. Just the fact that that attack exists limits your options in most scenarios. It discourages you from healing, it discourages you from using spells or ninjutsu, and this whole time you're watching this footage like, what are you even talking about, man? You're clearly just running this guy around a rock to get him to walk over ground fire traps, and yeah, I eventually resorted to that, but do you see how hard even that is? They clearly took steps with his AI against this strategy. When you're kiting him around the rock, his pathing feels specifically engineered to avoid what I'm trying to do here. He won't take the most direct or obvious or shortest path towards you around the rock. You almost have to put yourself in harm's way just to get him to keep pursuing you from the same direction, and he refuses to walk close to the rock on one whole side of it, opting for the long way around instead. If you want him to hit the trap, you have to open yourself to an attack, and if it's the jump dive in that narrow space, you are probably dead. When even the cheese is a risk, you know it's insane, and towards the end, I ran out of traps and had to do the rest of his health honestly anyway. It is doable, it's just that every second that ticks by is an ever-increasing risk of dying in a split second. But even this isn't number 1, because at least I beat this boss. Number 1, Hideyori and Fox. The hardest bosses in the Nioh DLC are Hideyori and the Nine-Tailed Fox. Double battles have officially lost the plot. You're gonna put the cheating human yokai you can't take your eyes off of with a giant monster that has screen-wide hitboxes and long-range meteor barrages? I know when I'm beat conceptually. I barely even tried doing this. There comes a point where you have to say, you know what? I don't need to participate in this sham encounter that is designed, or lack thereof, to piss me off. Maybe you can do this with sloth talismans and other assorted charcuterie options after you grind the game for 20 hours just to even get your level high enough to match the mission, but what do we gain from accomplishing this? This is the developers gleefully wasting our time. Nioh is a fun and great game that I enjoy a lot, but these DLCs by and large highlight the worst parts of it. Supposedly the Nioh 2 DLC is better, but I'll have to wait till after Nioh 3 before I go back and Platinum Nioh 2, and by then I might need a damn break. Anyway, that's going to do it for this boss ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Watch all my other videos and see if you can find all the Kodama in them, and I'll see you guys next time.